Hey folks, welcome back. Pop Retro 1 on Twitter, Pop Retro 1 on Instagram. You can also find me at facebook.com/popretro1. So wanted to take a few minutes today to show you something that I received in the mail. And when I was a little kid, like a lot of little kids in the 1980s, we really got into video games because it really was sort of the golden age of that time when most of us probably had an Atari 2600 growing up. If you were born in the 70s and were a kid in the 80s, or if you were born in the 70s and a teenager in the 80s, it was a cool thing. The Atari came out, I believe, in 1977, originally the home Atari. And after the market crashed around 1983 and 84, there was kind of a dead space there where we all sold off our Ataris, except for me. I was the one who saved my family's Atari and video games from many yard sales that my parents and grandparents wanted to put on. And I still have all my childhood stuff today, and it's been a lot of fun. And then in 1985, the NES came out, I think limited, and in 86, I believe, is when it sort of went wide, NES being the Nintendo Entertainment System. And I think we got ours in 1987 or 88. I can't remember. I still have my childhood NES, and I still have all the games that I had as a kid too. Now, I want to say the total games that I had were probably like 10 games, which seemed like a lot back then. And but remember, even back then, I think those games were running like $40, $50 a piece back in the late 80s. So they were super expensive. And, you know, for the time, just like a new video game is today, I imagine. And so, you know, you'd be excited to get one for Christmas, and then maybe you'd get one for your birthday, and that would be it. You'd maybe have another time of the year where you got one. And so maybe, an average family like ours probably got 3 video games over the course of a year. And so, you know, probably over a time span, I guess, of 3-4 years, you wind up with about between 8 to 12 games. And I think that's about how many games we had, was about 10 games. Wow, I've collected all these games over the years. Now, the NES had about 700 and something games, I think. And so there was no way to really collect all those unless you were rich. And maybe there were some rich kids and adults back then. But I've saved all my games, and over the years, I've never called myself a collector, but I pick a game up here and there every once in a while. And most recently, I picked up this used Narc. I found, and it even has I hear a rattle in there, so I haven't tested it yet. Hopefully it works. And I'm almost up to 100 NES games. But again, that's just from, a combination of keeping those original 10 to 12 games I had as a kid, and then finding some games here and there at yard sales 20, 30 years ago, finding some games online on eBay over the years, and that sort of thing. And that's how I've picked them up. And I've got, I think my count, I have it all on a Word file somewhere, but it's about 97 games, somewhere like that. So I'm almost to 100. So it may take me the rest of my life to actually get them all, but it's fun. It gives me time to actually play them, as I achieve them. What I'm here to talk about, though, is this brand new book by Brett Weiss, the NES Omnibus. Now, this is volume 2. This was a Kickstarter campaign that was just finally delivered. It was delayed thanks to, I think, some pandemic issues like everything else. And it finally arrived. And I don't know, I'm a person who really loves hold in your hand books. You got people who will say that, well, there's no reason to have these physical books now, thanks to the internet. You find all the information on the internet. And I've never believed that, because you can always change it. I love Wikipedia. You can find so much stuff there. And there is tons of stuff on the internet. The internet allows me to do this YouTube channel. But, when it comes to actually getting a book from someone who's a scholar, someone who's a historian on the subject, who has some background, it just gives you that much more of an appeal. It makes you feel like, wow, I really have something here that I can refer to whenever I have a question about Nintendo Entertainment System games. Now, this is a huge hardcover book. Here's a look at it. And what I like these for, this covers the games M through Z, okay? And what I like about these is, first of all, I love reference books. I have reference books on everything, movies, TV shows, music, and video games. And Brett Weiss is my favorite author when it comes to video games. And I think I found some of his earliest books, I want to say around, 12 years ago or so. And they've always been my go-to when I, come across something online. I'll pull out one of those books and go, okay, let's look and see what he had to say about this in his list of items. And I think Brett Weiss is about 10 years older than me. I was born in 76. And so he actually grew up in the golden age of arcades. And what I also like about Brett, compared to a lot of other internet pundits you can find, is that he does have that age, and so he has that history, whereas he doesn't dismiss the pre-NES systems, for instance, the Atari 2600 and the Odyssey 2 and the original Odyssey and the Fairchild and all that. He actually has real life experience with those systems, having grown up in that era, whereas I was a little kid. My first system was the Atari 2600, but I was 6-7 years old, and I missed the golden age of arcades. So he brings that experience and that knowledge to everything that he writes, and that's what I've always appreciated about his book. So take a quick look at this. Let me pull up, and let me just see if I can open up to NARC, actually, since I just showed you the cartridge for that. A very used cartridge, as you can see. Let's see here. And I know it's in here because I looked for it the other day and I found it. And for some reason, I'm not seeing it now. Am I skipping past it? Oh, there it is. Yes, I was skipping past it. I was turning right past that page. So there it is. So just take a quick look at what you get with each one. You've got a write-up, you've got a synopsis, and it's not just a Wikipedia synopsis. It's a nice personalized, in a sense, synopsis, almost like a review, but not a ton of snark or anything like that. And if I wanted a Wikipedia dry write-up, I would go to Wikipedia and get that. And so you've got a lot of facts and figures, and also there's a lot of quotes. If you dig in, like a notable quotable, and he actually has gone back to the old journalists of, like for this one, for instance, he has gone back to Gaming Monthly, July 1990, to find a quote about what they said about NARC, as well as another quote from JustGamesRetro.com. So he mixes in some classic quotes along with what people in the modern day are saying. And so to me, that's always made for really good reading and a nice nice spread of sources. So you get what some modern people maybe say and think about the game, along with what people were saying way back in the day. So let's see here. You also get some nice art, and there are some ads and things like that in there. And also my name is in the book as a Kickstarter supporter. So it's in the back of this book, which is kind of cool to see. Real quick, I'll show you what also came for we Kickstarter people. There was a little sheet, an ad that shows some of his other books, which include the SNES Omnibus. And I believe I have that one too. And I'll show it to you in just a second. But the SNES Omnibus was published by Schiffer Publishing, I think traditionally. And I think what happened with the NES was that a lot of years have passed, and so it's much more difficult to get publishing houses to publish your stuff. And so I believe they're asking authors to say, hey, you got to run a Kickstarter to see what kind of interest there is and that sort of thing. And so that's what happened with the NES Omnibus, both volumes. And he wound up getting it published through Schiffer again, thanks to the successful Kickstarter campaign. So let me just show you volume 1 here. There's volume 1 of the NES Omnibus, A through L, games A through L. And also the came with that. We have a bookmark that shows some of his other books, and I'll show you these books real quick. I do have these. These are actually books that cover other systems that he wrote years ago. Bookmark from Schiffer Publishing themselves. And then there was a little trading card from a 2012 Superstars of 2012 Twin Galaxies. So I'm not sure what that's all about, but hey, I'll keep it with the book. So here is volume 1 of the SNES, the Super Nintendo Entertainment System Omnibus. And again, it's the same size, same hardback book, and these are big books, full color, very nice. And here is volume 2 of the SNES Omnibus. Brett Weiss, the author, also has a YouTube channel now. He recently started it. It's probably been a year or two ago. I don't know how long it's been out, but you know, to get your stuff out there these days, you have to self-promote. And so if you look up Brett Weiss on YouTube, you can find his YouTube channel. And he does a lot of content there now, along with writing all these books. He also used to do a syndicated newspaper column. So again, a legitimate journalist of video games is who's publishing and writing these books. So here is Classic Home Video Games, 1972 to 1984. Now this is a paperback version of a book that I think originally came out on hardback. This is published by McFarlane. But what's cool about this is a sort of a scaled down version of what you get with those omnibuses. And this covers all kinds of systems, those early systems that came out starting with the original Odyssey in 1972. So you have systems like the Arcadia 2001, Astrocade, Atari 2600, 5200, 7800, the ColecoVision, Fairchild, Channel F, Intellivision, Odyssey, Odyssey 2, Telstar Arcade, the Vectrex. And each game for each of those systems is covered in here. And there's a picture here and there, an image here and there in black and white. And so this is mostly text, but again, it's the best reference for finding information on the games that were made for these systems that came out between 1972 and 1984. And there are 3 of these books. The next one is Classic Home Video Games 85 to 88. So this one was sort of a precursor to his NES Omnibus. So you have the NES, all the Nintendo Entertainment System games in here, as well as listings for, as you can see on the cover, the Sega Master System and the Atari 7800. So some people get confused that, oh, so it cuts off at 1988. No, all the games that came out even in 1991 and 92 and 93 for, say, the Nintendo Entertainment System are also included in here. 85 to 88 simply means the years that the consoles themselves came out. So that can be confusing sometimes when you think you're only getting the games that were released between those years. No, it was actually the consoles that are being covered that were released between those years. But all the games are referenced in these books. And the final one was for 1989 and 90. And this one covers, open it up real quick, the Neo Geo, the Sega Genesis, and the TurboGrafx 16. So again, entries for every single book in there, or excuse me, every single game that came out for those systems. And there are even some in the omnibus books. He even puts some of the homebrew titles in a section in the back. And I haven't had a chance to look all the way through it. I've only had a chance to peruse it because this just arrived. The NES Omnibus book did. So one more book that I have from author Brett Weiss. I believe it was his first book from about 15 years ago, The 100 Greatest Console Video Games, 1977 to 1987. And this is, again, another nice hardback book published by Schiffer. And what I really liked about this was the range, the time range of the games that he covers in here, 77 to 87, which is perfect for me. I was 11 years old in 87. Excuse me, I was 11 years old in 87. And so 77 really starts with like the Atari 2600 and and the systems that came out when I was a kid. Because the older I got, I stopped gaming around the turn of the century, around 2000. I got really busy with my career, and the games that were coming out, PlayStation, Xbox, just more and more, they took so much time that I just kind of made the decision to just continue to play classic games from before that era. And so I'm not really a modern gamer. So between 77 and 87, the best 100 games, in his opinion, it's been really cool to flip through this one over the years and add games to my collection that I might have missed. And as you can see right there, you got a couple of, you got an Atari 2600 title, Missile Command, at number 61. And here's a ColecoVision game for Spy Hunter, number 86. So anyhow, just a nice collection of books for your reference library. If you like reference books, if you're someone who just likes to go on the internet and find all your information and doesn't like books, then certainly you can do that. But man, it's been really nice having these references over the years that I can just pick up and go, okay, you know what? I feel like getting a new Atari 2600 game or a new Sega Master System game. So I'm just going to grab one of these books and flip through and see what I don't have, and see what I can look up on eBay and maybe pick up. So there you have it. Just wanted to share with you the NES Omnibus Volume 2, which just arrived and just came out. And again, you can find Brett Weiss at his YouTube channel, just his name, Brett Weiss, and that is Brett with 2 T's, Weiss, as you can see right there on the cover. So thank you for being with us. I will be back again soon with another video, with some haul videos for some movies and Blu-rays I've picked up, along with some more reviews of movies that I've watched recently and some TV series. So I will see you then.